let's talk about the Demoman. Demo is a class who's naturally geared toward explosive damage output and area denial. His grenades excel at picking off individual targets, while his stickies are unmatched in their ability to spread damage around and flush out stubborn engie nests. Demo's firepower is commanding and a force to be reckoned with, but requires caution and discipline to use effectively. Without a hit-scan weapon in his arsenal, he's forced to engage enemies at a range far enough that he doesn't blow his own face off, but close enough that his explosives can still reach. He manages to be versatile, while still having to find strengths and weaknesses, and that's what I love about him. At least, that's how it is in theory. Alright, remember what I said 20 seconds ago about caution and discipline? Well, you can forget about that pesky stuff, since the sticky bomb launcher basically lets you ignore it. As much as I love stock Demo, even I have to admit that the sticky launcher is just a touch overtuned.
8 bombs in a clip? Are you kidding me, Valve?
It's both way easier to use than the grenade launcher, and generally better, to the point that many consider it the Demoman's true primary. Personally though, I've always preferred relying on grenades over sticky bombs. I'll admit I indulge in a bit of brain-dead sticky spam from time to time, but to me, the high of landing a clean, 100 damage pipe is something that sticky spam can never approach. But why am I talking about Demoman anyway? I mean, you saw the title, we all know this isn't about him. This video is about the Demoman's lesser-known, considerably cooler cousin. A path that few Demomen dare tread, but promises great loot.
You won't be needing that sticky launcher where you're going, you landlubber! Grab your cannon, man the helm, and set sail to the seafaring way to play Demo, the Cannoneer! The Cannoneer is an adventurer, sailing the 7 seas in search of plunder and booty. He forsakes the comfort and ease of the sticky in exchange for daring donks and slick schmovement. I gotta stop with the pirate thing.
This loadout's less of a subclass, so to speak, and more a specific playstyle of Hybrid Knight. A subclass of a subclass of a subclass. Cannoneer's a subclass. The Cannoneer lives by 2 weapons, the loose cannon and the tide turner. Gimmick aside, these weapons actually have pretty good synergy with each other, with many calling the loose cannon the Hybrid Knight's launcher of choice. The tide turner especially supports an aggressive roaming style of play that in my opinion is a lot more fun than lobbing stickies down a choke all day. Follow me as I teach you to drop the M1, M2 mindset and become a true man of the sea, starting with the coolest weapon in all of fiction, the loose cannon. The loose cannon is a grenade launcher, I guess, that provides a very unique playstyle from Demo's other primaries. The cannonballs fired by the loose cannon don't explode on contact with enemy gamers, instead exploding after 1 second of being fired. However, you can hold down the fire button before releasing it to instead charge the shot, making it explode sooner after leaving the chamber. The physical impact of the cannonball and the explosion both deal damage, so it's not as simple as just hitting your target. You have to time your shots to ensure both hits land on the same target. If the cannonball explodes within half a second after hitting the target, you'll be rewarded with the illustrious Double Donk. Landing this heavenly combo will make the follow-up explosion deal a mini-crit, while also producing the most dopamine-inducing sound known to man. Once you get a taste of the donk, you can never go back. All it takes is 1 donk, and you're hooked. Pretty soon you'll be willing to die for the donk. That's just how valuable the donk is. It's pretty powerful too, dealing enough damage to one-shot a light class. Most of the time. The loose cannon's description also advertises a 20% higher projectile speed, but thanks to the wonders of Source Engine Magic, the cannonballs actually move slower through the air than grenades do, which combined with their lower fuse time gives the loose cannon a much lower effective range than the other launchers. This makes the Cannoneer more of a scrapper than stock Demo. You have to get real nice and close to be able to donk your foes, but not so close that they mow you right down. It's a risky game that amplifies Demo's role as a mid-range glass cannon. Thankfully, the impact of the cannonball deals insane knockback, which can help keep opposing gamers at bay. No pun intended. You can even use the knockback to pop someone into the air for an easy donk, kinda like you can with grenades. The knockback also affects Uber players, meaning you can pretty much tell any Uber you don't like to go walk the plank, provided you have the game, of course. This is especially helpful for dealing with heavies, who are usually pretty easy to donk and will be sent flying despite their natural knockback resistance. If you find one next to a pit, jackpot. Being able to one-shot light classes is arguably the main selling point of this gun, as it finally gives Demo a reasonable way of dealing with scouts. Scouts are annoying little scurvy dogs, always jumping around like the fleas that they are, which is why putting them in their place with the loose cannon is so damn satisfying. Landing one donk on a scout is generally easier than landing 2 pipes, and it's less likely to get yourself blown up in the process. If some hotshot scout player is dancing around in your face, be patient and hold your fire. Don't let him spook you into releasing the shot early, since you'll probably lose the fight that way. With a good cannon arm, you can flip the matchup on its head and turn what a scout player might see as an easy kill into their worst nightmare. Donking scouts has become something of a favorite pastime of mine in recent years. There's nothing more cathartic than some coked out scout main jumping around like, "You can't hit me, you can't hit me," only to be slammed in the face with 130 damage. If you're lucky, they might even drop the act for a second and compliment your aim.
Nice shot! Thanks, lad!
You can also one-shot snipers this way, which makes flanking those campy scallywags all the more satisfying. Reminder that harassing your local sniper main is always okay.
For legal reasons, the preceding statement is a joke.
Ever wanted to stick it to those aimbots? With the loose cannon, you can. Spies will go down in one donk as well, and even if they try to slink away with the dead ringer, you can still see the double donk effect over his head. You can use this to track him down and potentially donk him again, leading to what I like to call the double invisidonk. Spy mains are a bunch of lily-livered landlubbers anyway, so they'll probably try and cloak away the second you see them. Use your game sense to track down an invisible spy and donk him into the next century.
What the fuck?
If there's one thing I love about the loose cannon, it's how much counterplay it gives you against pyros. With most demo weapons, you're pretty much screwed if a pyro gets up in your grill, but the loose cannon doesn't have that problem. Flog pyros especially hate this thing. The knockback gives you a quick get off me option where the other launchers would only hurt you, and the much shorter fuse time means that even if a pyro airblasts your shot, it's unlikely to hit you anyway. If that's not enough, you can cook the shot just long enough that it'll explode in the pyro's face even if they try and airblast it. They might get so flustered they forget they even have an airblast to begin with. With exquisite timing, you can even dupe an overconfident pyro into donking himself. Use these techniques to send those filthy bilge rats to Davy Jones' locker.
Also, between you and me, there's a bug where air-blasted cannonballs won't mini-crit, so you don't actually have to worry about getting killed by them. Don't tell Valve, though.
Part of what makes the loose cannon such a great partner for the Demoman shields, like the Tide Turner, is how it mimics the utility of the sticky bomb launcher. That's right, the loose cannon is stickies, but base! You won't be trapping corners with this thing, but you can use cannonballs as a substitute for airburst stickies, giving you a reliable way of finishing off weakened opponents without having to land a direct hit. Work smarter, not harder. If you've already done the work of getting a target to low health, save yourself the brain power of aiming for a direct hit and go for an airburst instead. Maybe it feels cheap, but hey, could be worse. Using splash damage optimally is a key part of the Cannoneer's toolkit, and it's important to keep in mind when an enemy will die to splash. One donk plus splash will usually plunder medics, pyros, and demomen. 2 donks plus splash will sink a heavy. Things like overheal and damage fall off can screw with the numbers a bit, but keep these thresholds in mind when deciding whether to go for a double donk or splash damage. Even if you beef the follow-up shot, you might launch them so far that they just crater on impact with the ground anyway. The loose cannon has plenty of hidden tricks up its sleeve. For instance, did you know you can donk multiple foes in a single shot? The cannonball doesn't lose its impact hitbox when it hits a player, so if it bounces off and hits another player, they'll be donked. My high score so far is 3.
Nice throw!
The cannonball also keeps traveling if it kills a player via impact, meaning you can collateral donk someone through someone else. Another trick to keep in mind is pre-charging your shots going around corners. You might waste a lot of cannonballs this way, but you'll also catch opponents off guard and be prepared for engagements more often than not. Overcharging a loose cannon shot may not seem like it has much utility, but it can be used to do a sort of gimmicky sticky jump. Overload the chamber, look down and behind you, and crouch jump to do a cannon jump, gaining distance comparable to, if not better than the average sticky jump. It costs a lot of health, but provides way better mobility than you'd get with any of the other launchers. You're basically launching yourself out of a cannon, it's glorious! Combine this with your shield charge, and you'll be flying around the map like a soaring seagull. All in all, the loose cannon is a reasonable side grade upgrade that trades range, consistency, and spam potential for mobility, utility, and high single target damage. Many write it off as a gimmick weapon or even outright bad, but after grinding with it for so long, I tend to disagree. In fact, people don't know that the loose cannon is so powerful it can remove players from the game.
What?
It may not be the best or easiest to use of Demo's launchers, but if you don't mind being your local engineer main's cabin boy for a few hours, the loose cannon is a surprisingly fun and powerful alternative to the stock. If you're the type of person who likes labbing combos in fighting games, you'll definitely love this gun. At the very least, you'll get some fun clips out of it. And yes, that is the real Wheezy, that's right, this was secretly a crossover video, fuck you. If you want to know more about the loose cannon, fellow donk enthusiast Lay Roosebird, pictured here, made a really good video that'll tell you basically all there is to know about the gun. Even I learned something from it, so I guarantee that if you watch it, you'll become a legend worthy of the man himself.
I'm gonna give you this gun. You're gonna take it, you're gonna kill a bunch of people with it.
Hey, wasn't there another weapon I was going to talk about? Oh yeah! Your movement is further augmented by the Cannoneer's second best friend, the Tide Turner.
Because what would a captain be without his trusty helm?
The Tide Turner mainly serves as a mobility option on this set, getting you in and out of fights quickly without expending health to do so. It sort of turns you into an explosive scout, letting you pick your battles and go, whoop, see you later, if you see things getting a bit too hairy. Unlike a scout though, you can take a few hits if need be, which is aided by the handy, if slight resistances granted by the Tide Turner. 15% fire and explosive resistance may sound paltry at first, but it's enough to turn a 100 damage pill into 85, letting you survive 2 direct hits from any other grenade launcher. The charge also gets rid of debuffs, giving the Cannoneer even less reason to be afraid of pyros. Even if you find yourself on the receiving end of their flamethrower with no way to shake them, you can always just... Very few joys on this earth are greater than getting into a situation where you absolutely deserve to die and getting away with it because you hit mouse 2. Hey, wait a minute! However, you do have to think a little before using the charge as a straight get-out-of-jail-free card, since taking damage will shorten the charge or even outright cancel it, potentially denying your escape. And sure, you can just use the Tide Turner as a panic button, but you're doing a disservice to yourself. Need I remind you that you can literally fly with this thing? Use the charge to close the distance on a weakened enemy and deliver the finishing blow. Work those charge angles to
Sail the 7 seas.
without needing a cannon jump to do so. Remember that charging through the air diagonally gets you more distance than charging straight forward, and there are certain gaps you can only cross by doing so. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you all about the funny trimps. I'm no solo light or anything, but trimping alone gives you so many ways to get to funny spots really quickly. Like, take a look at this clip where I'm surrounded by enemies and run up this stump to safety. I didn't even know I could do that. I just ran up the side of a stump like a goddamn Scooby-Doo gag. If you know how, you can basically turn any sloped surface on the map into a launch pad, so play around and find your new favorite trimping spots. As for your melee, well, it doesn't really matter much, to be honest. It really depends on how much you plan on using it. I like relying on the cannon most of the time, so I just stick with the pan, but if you plan on leaning more Demo Knight in your playstyle, it may be in your interest to run a sword instead.
Just don't run the caber unless you hate yourself.
The Cannoneer commands great power, but that power won't come overnight. Consistently landing direct pipes is already one of the hardest things in TF2, and the cannon adds an additional timing minigame on top of that, raising the skill floor and ceiling of the weapon quite a bit. With no backup gun and only 4 shots in a clip, you pretty much have to be landing your donks if you want to survive most encounters. The loose cannon is fairly inconsistent by nature, and no matter how good you get, there are gonna be days when you just can't land those donks to save your life. At the same time though, not being able to rely on sticky spam as a fallback makes for great training and forces you to confront the weapon's steep learning curve. If you want to embrace the donk grind set and become a double donking duelist like myself, ditching the sticky bomb launcher is genuinely one of the best things you can do to work on your aim. Eventually, your aim will get so good, you'll be hitting players who don't even exist. With precision, timing, patience.
Oh, what's up? Hit the bricks, pal. You'll never hit me. You'll never hit my tiny...
You'll be the terror and envy of all your mates.
I beg you. Use something else.
You'll be the scourge of the 7 seas.
Dude, can you fuck off with your cannon? Where do you think you are? Medieval times?
You'll be unstoppable!
Well, until you see one of these things. Yes, it's time to address the metallic, area-denying, stalemate-inducing elephant in the room. Sentries. God, I hate these things. These are the only things stopping me from playing Cannoneer full-time. Unfortunately for us die-hard cannon fans, you can't donk a sentry gun, and the loose cannon's damage potential against buildings isn't anything special. The problem is that this damage is spread out across 2 hits, and you have to cook your shots to break even with the stock's damage output, giving a window for the Engie to heal his gun, or more likely, the gun to kill you instead. The loose cannon also deals less splash damage than the other launchers, making it poorly suited for taking out Engie nests. Even mini-sentries are hell to deal with, due to how hard it is to land both hits of a cannonball on such a small target, which won't even always come out to 100 damage.
It'd be enough to tweak this salty dog's chin hairs.
If you don't already have a healthy amount of hate for sentries, you will after using this loadout. You're basically leaving yourself at the mercy of your team to hopefully take out a level 3 sentry gun. If your teammates don't have the brain cells to do the job themselves, you can switch to a different loadout, pepper it with cannonballs and pray it goes down, or cry until the end of the round. So, at the end of the day, what are we left with? The Cannoneer is an aggressive roamer who can still defend a point if need be. He leans into the realm of pit class a la Demoman, but can actually use his gun. With trimps and cannon jumps galore, he can sail across the map with ease, striking fear into the hearts of his foes with his treacherous donks. However, forsaking the raw power of the sticky launcher means losing out on one of the best anti-sentry tools in the game. Demoman already gets notoriously stuffed hard by sentries, and handing him the worst launcher for dealing with buildings is more of a cruel mockery than anything else. Losing the stickies also severely neuters the Cannoneer's potential for spreading damage around, which combined with his overall low building damage makes him a rather poor Uber recipient. Medics, I appreciate it, but consider directing your charges elsewhere. Is the Cannoneer a viable alternative to stock demo? In my honest opinion, yes. In his video on the loose cannon, fellow YouTuber Breadman concluded that the loose cannon is functionally a secondary weapon. But on the loadout screen and in my heart, it'll always be my primary weapon. I've been a loose cannon loyalist for a great many moons now, and picking up this gun was one of the best things I ever did for my enjoyment of the game. Many may prefer the more consistent damage output of the grenade launcher, but for a big brain gamer such as myself, the loose cannon provides a considerable boost to your DM potential at the cost of the therapy you'll need after dying to all those sentry guns. While it may not be optimal compared to clearing out swaths of people by lobbing spicy balls at them, the extra survivability and mobility afforded by the Tide Turner allows you to get a lot more risky and creative in your plays. I know trading arguably the most overpowered weapon in the game for a funny charge is a hard sell for most people, but if you're like me and have decided that stickies are lame and cringe, the Cannoneer life might be just right for you. If you're feeling inspired to take up this loadout yourself, I'd recommend that you
change your Steam alias to your favorite pirate name. Brush up on your pirate lingo before a spot a gaming. Always put on your plain list of shanties to enhance your Cannoneer gameplay. Don't forget to dress your Cannoneer up as a proper pirate, and if you be not a landlubber, dress yourself up like a pirate too. And most importantly, remember to buy a drunk man's cannon taunt from the Manco store. I just love rewarding Valve for updating this game twice a year. I spent $5 whole on this taunt and I will get some use out of it!